everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi.
This is Geeta Rekal, Head of Mobility Services, Supply Chain Management in Siemens. So today we have connected here for a panel discussion on the subject SMMP, right? That is a short form. I'll tell you more about it, which I'm privileged to moderate this session. And thank you, GTB, for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate that. So to the subject, I just want to give some background. When we say SMMP, that's nothing but Strategic Meeting Management Program. So why we are discussing that and why today? Just to set the stage, strategy is something is a crux of every business is what we all strongly believe. And we all in any form or at any point of time in life would always strategize our every move to reach the goals or achieve success. Strategy is necessary if we are looking at savings or resource or time. It could be energy and cost also, right? These are all the major areas in the business. So with so much we talk about strategy, but it is specific to business needs and its way of working. Every business may not have the same strategy, right? So to take you through more, why strategy is so essential to talk about in the current situation, right? Why we are choosing it to talk today. Just to address that point, we are in the new normal, right? Owing to the pandemic, we are all impacted and we are finding our new ways to connect and be productive. And meetings and events for any business on today's condition has a great existence, correct? Now that we are in virtual as well as the hybrid mode of events for organization, it becomes imperative for all of us to understand what's available, how is the market, what strategy helps us, how can we use all this effectively. That's something which we are looking at in this panel discussion. And I'm sure you'll get lot many inputs from our panelists. And I have industry experts as our panelists from all walks of business, right? We'll get to know them shortly. Just to let you guys know, this discussion we are covering up around 35 minutes, and we'll have question and answer sessions at 10 minutes in the end, right? Now I'll hand it over to the panelist. Jesse, from you, if you can introduce yourself shortly and give a visibility to us. Over to you, Jesse. Are you there, Jesse? Hello, Jesse. Okay, so let's go with Vivek then. Vivek, if you can please give a short introduction about yourself and then we'll carry on.
Sure. Thank you so much, Geeta, and thank you for kicking off this exciting panel discussion. And thank you to the team at JTB for pulling us all together. I think some very valuable insights coming out of today's session and an exciting audience to talk with. My background is essentially in hospitality. So I spent 18 years now in hotels, a variety of groups. Currently with Shangri-La, I'm managing the regional liaison office for India and also supporting our hotels' commercial interests here in the country. So from a brand perspective, we operate over 100 hotels around the world. And 80% of those are actually in the luxury set, and we own most of our hotels, which is fairly unique in today's world as well. So hopefully I can add some interesting perspectives to today's conversation, and looking forward to the chat. Thank you, Geeta.
Thank you, Vivek. You're going to be an important part. I'm telling you right away, I'm giving you a lot of heads.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I can't hear you guys. Hello? Hello?
Geeta, I think you're on mute. We're not able to hear
Yes,
you.
now I can hear Vivek.
You can hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Good job.
Yes.
So can you please provide your introduction?
Okay, I was suddenly wondering why everybody's gone on mute. Okay, sorry, and I had cut off bit in between as well. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be on the panel today, and just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jasminder Brishin, and I generally called by Jessie. Been in the working field for almost 20 plus years now. Different backgrounds, but the most interesting background that since last 10, 11 years is what I'm enjoying is more of global travel and also strategic sourcings and procurement. So that's said about me with this organization. I am right now Auckland Financials, and I'm with this organization for 5 years. This month I complete 5 years, and very happy to be a part of this. And I hope I would get to learn something from all of you, which will help me in my strategic sourcing. And also, if there's something that I can share from my side, my opinion, my feedbacks, I would love to hear from everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse, and congratulations on your 5 years with Aquin.
Thank
We
you.
wishing you many more. Thank
Yes.
you. So over to
Thank
you,
you.
Manish.
Thank you, Geeta, and a very big hi to all of you in these trying times, sitting at home. And I think it's the best effort that we can make to interact with each other. Quick introduction about myself. My name is Manish Bharti, and I have over 2 decades of experience in the travel business, most of which has been with holidays and leisure with companies like Thomas Cook. And my last assignment was with ClearTrip, which was more of a online business kind of experience for over 4 years. And currently, my assignment is where at JTB I handle the strategic meeting management business, and over little almost 2 years stint, and possibly that gives me a kind of a starting advantage in this panel where I've been directly handling this business. But I assure you that I will be a good listener instead of just sharing my views. And thank you all so much for taking time out and being a part of this discussion. It really means a lot to all of us at JTB, and looking forward to great interaction with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Manish. It's a pretty exciting one, I would say, looking at different kinds, and we have a lot to learn, as Jesse and Vivek said that just now. And yeah, too many things to look forward. I can't wait. Should we start and go ahead without any further delay? Yeah, jump into those. We have aligned some questions to make sure we utilize the time well and correctly cover the points what we wanted. So to start the discussion, I have a couple of questions. So let me start with the first question. All of you can answer this. So what exactly SMMP or the strategic, meeting management program means to you? Just to give me a one-liner, if I have to ask you, can you please? Maybe you start, Jesse, from you, and then we'll go as usual, Vivek and Manish. Over to you, Jesse.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat? I just joined back again. There's bad network.
No, no worries. So, okay, just to start the discussion, the first question I'm throwing at you guys:
Okay.
what does SMMP or the Strategic Meeting Management Program means to you? Just give me a short answer. What does it mean? And when I say SMMP,
So, as far as if you have to say just a short answer, I think I would say return on investment, Geeta. Basically, it's more related to processes, volume, budgets, and so on. So, the short answer is a return on investment.
that's very well put in. You kind of you summarized what it means. Good to hear that, Jesse. Talks
Yeah.
like a procurement language. we will we will move to Vivek next, and then let's hear from Vivek. What does it mean to Vivek? SMMP. What does it mean to you, Vivek?
Thank you, Geeta. And so, aside from the theoretical definition, I try and look at it from the perspective of a hotelier. And
Mm,
for us, it really is about keeping the customer first. And For a hotel company, typically you would be a customer, but you also have your end customer, and it's kind of a reminder to say that's what we're all about at the end of the day. So it also means centralizing of a structure, so bringing things into a common umbrella, which certainly helps the entire process. So it makes it easier for all of us to do business together. It's much quicker to be able to establish a true partnership. So from that perspective, I see that it ticks a lot of boxes.
Thank you, Vivek. From a hospitality person, I cannot expect anything less. It was well summarized and very well impactful. Thank you.
True.
Over to you, Manish. How do you, as a JTB, as an event management organization, what does SMMP means to you?
Sure, Geeta. I think from a service delivery entity perspective, having seen this business very closely, for us, it is about, as you rightly said at the opening of the panel discussion, strategy is a large part of the SMM program. And it can be different for different corporates and clients. And considering their challenges and what they want to achieve from their meeting spends, etc., right? So for me, two words I would say from my own experience, it's about, and very high up there, it's about compliance and technology. So very high on compliance, and it will be different for different clients. And you achieve compliance through technology, and you avoid manual intervention and errors in that process. So I don't know if that was brief, but that was my understanding of SMM program.
Thank you, Manish. You really touched the main part of all these, business organization, how we look at every event or it could be every action. And I think it means a lot. Compliance really plays a very important role whenever we are conducting our business. And if it has to be ethical and we have to have the right kind, I think that is a very valid point. Thank you very much. Let's move to the second question, what I have for all of you. Let me start with Vivek. So, Vivek, what are the first three words comes to your mind when I say strategic meeting? Uh, and what do you consider as strategic in planning the process?
Absolutely. And Geeta, you may accuse me of wearing my heart on my sleeve, but I'm going to try and answer this again from the hospitality point of view. Try and add value from that perspective. There's three
That's
words that
very
come to mind.
welcome, Vivek. Sorry, it's welcome because we
Thank you.
need in
Yes.
current situation we need all that goodness coming in.
Yes. So there's three words that come to my mind. The first one in this environment today is safety. The second is synergy, and the third is enhancement. Um, so it's really being able to plan to core objectives whilst firmly being in ground reality at the same time. So for me, those are the three words: synergy, safety, and enhancement.
Wow. We will go more into depth in the next questions, but those are very valid points. Safety,
Sure.
synergy, yeah. Over to you, Jesse. Thanks for that, Vivek. Over to you, Jesse, as
Well,
a company with a procurement and looking at suppliers with a strategic thing. What is that three words comes to your mind, and how does it gets into your planning process?
I'm a little lost because the high words that he used, Vivek. I just felt I'm going to talk only the basics, but something which really came to my mind when you talk about the SSM, I was only mainly concentrating on scheduling, logistics, technology. So these were the three words which came in my mind immediately. If I have to talk about.
Thank you. That's also very important for any events to go on successfully, Jesse. You
True.
touch the
Yeah.
factor of the business, yes, because from hospitality, you can't expect anything lesser there. But as a
Yes.
corporate, as a procurement person, those three matters a lot. Thank you for
Yes.
those. Let's
Thank
move
you.
to Manish to hear what exactly he has as a three words. We are talking
Geeta,
about strategy.
yeah, I keep, from my experience, I keep hitting at these two words. I'll be repetitive, forgive me. It's compliance and technology really up there. However, in the current pandemic situation and scenario, right, the lives are reset. So, and I don't think this word is going to, take a back seat, which is hygiene. It sounds very simple and straightforward, but when you have to make it a part of the meeting management program, how do you drive hygiene and get a win-win from your vendors, from your end customers, what processes. So we'll have to tweak processes to make sure that you map the hygiene score of a
Yeah.
venue. How do you map it? Because it's largely qualitative. How do you quantify hygiene in terms of points and on the scale of 1 to 10, etc., etc. So in the current scenario, for us as a service delivery entity, this is going to be a challenge, and we are excited about solving this challenge in addition to what we have tried to solve earlier.
That's beautifully put, Manish. I think it's giving us, as a corporate, if I'm looking at strategy and I'm looking at market, what is available, I think this would make me more confident and looking at getting more events organized. I think from that point, I think you have a very, very valid point, Manish. And thank you for that. And let's go to the next question. Jesse, for you, this is specifically as an event manager, or I would say from the procurement point, from the organization level, how is it for you, the events? Maybe I'll ask a series of questions here. First one I would ask you, how is it for you? Do you manage demand pooled or is it decentralized? That is my first question to you. Like all your
So
requests,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Correct. So it's mainly a decentralized approach that we've had. I think
Uh,
when I looked at physical events that we've conducted, I mean, there's a lot that go into it. From from a procurement standpoint, and if you have to ask me all the questions together, I think I want to sum up with the event that we did virtually the last
uh-huh.
year, which was the first event. So if you
Oh,
want to ask me all the questions, then I would like to put my experience with
perfect.
that first event.
Okay, let me then go ahead without any of this thing. So,
Yeah,
if it is decentralized, you said it is decentralized, it is not at all pool demand, right? That means people are going on their own divisions, or the stakeholders, or the end
correct.
customers, reaching out to the hotels or the suppliers and getting their own self, right? Though you
Yes,
have to manage the budget, you have to have the data with you, and you have to do the negotiation. You have been hired for this portfolio you're managing, but still it is so decentralized, right? So
yeah,
how easy it is for you to arrange? That's my next question when you are managing this decentralized. And what
yeah.
is the transparency you have in all this? Do you have it honestly, or
No,
and then what's a budget management? How do you do it? Because if it's decentralized, it is like it's going everywhere. Nobody knows what is that we have in our event budget today. And how do you manage the negotiations? Because if it is not pooled,
right,
you can't negotiate for the better pricing, right? And how do you manage
right.
the data? I mean, do you have any technology? This is my question to sum it up. So I'm just giving you if it is a position of how it is being done, and
Hmm.
these are the questions which comes into my mind if it is a decentralized. So
So
I would
see,
like
when
to
we
have.
did decentralized, we definitely did. I mean, events would happen, in different parts of the world, whether it's in US or in Manila. Now, in terms of the budget, see, I'm just a procurement specialist for people, for them to get the vendors,
Mhm,
and also to tell them, okay, you have a budget. This is the kind of vendor that you can choose, which will fit into your budget,
mhm.
and administratively, they will have people who will manage it. Okay, so that's when I said about decentralized. Now coming to the event that we did, which was a virtual event, I would say that basically when I say decentralized there, I think I looked at APAC separately, and we also thought that should we consider even US as part of it, but we were not confident whether it would be it would come out the way we are expecting. So when we had to organize this event, even though when we said APAC, we wanted to separate it. I'm sure Anandi would be aware of it. When we had to do it, we said, okay, we'll do Manila separately and we'll do India separately. And that too, in India, you have three different locations, right? So it was very difficult for us to actually come to a point whether should we really, have a centralized event and
Collaborating and managing was very
collaborative
difficult.
and
That's
then
what
do
you're saying.
it.
Yeah.
So we never wanted to, finally we said, okay, we'll keep US out of it because this is the first time we were wanting to experience, right? And I think we did pretty well. I would not say excellent in wow types. Yes, it would have been much better, is what I feel, because this was my first event on a virtual platform to coordinate, and there are different stakeholders, everyone from home. It was really very challenging, but I think we put it up all together, and I found it does work. If you have a good technology in place, it'll definitely help you tie up all your challenges what you're going to face on the ground, right?
So
So
it is
I
majorly managed manually. Is that what you're saying? And it is a lot of
yes,
hiccups and
correct.
too much of work. At the end of
We
the day,
had
we have a
to.
stressed vertical manager managing the events and multiple directions to look at. And yeah,
Correct.
working from home may be helping us to do it much, but
Yeah,
then
very true.
in the normalcy, it may not work the way what we are expecting. Right?
Yes, it is.
Thank you, Jesse. That's a very good input what you provided and how it's going to be decentralized.
Yeah.
You really opened many of us who think it is okay to run the decentralized, event. Okay, let me
True.
reach out to, thank you for that, Jesse. Let me reach out
Yeah.
to Vivek to ask him what is his inputs, if at all it is coming to you without being organized, multiple people, like say, for example, tomorrow, Akwin, many people are coming and, negotiating with you for the same event, 20 people. And what exactly will happen? I mean, how do you manage if such things are coming in? Do you even connect back to the procurement and say, hey, you know what, your team is coming, can we connect together? Or is it what is the strategy you have in managing it? Or do you have any technology to run it so that you have enough, data to support or kind of a thing? I just want to hear what exactly happens in the hotel because we always blame the hotels when things don't go right. But I want to understand what is the pain you guys take at the back end.
Sure, and I think that's a really valuable conversation as well to have. And for any hotel, I think at the base level, all business is good business. So it's absolutely valuable to have those discussions. But there's perhaps a sort of an escalation level. Like I talked about enhancement, and the centralized approach allows us to do more for you. So from a perspective that yes, of course, if you have many people calling for the same event, as a hotel, the onus is on us to have that relationship to be able to reach out to procurement and say, hey, this is what we're facing. What do you see we should do? So that the loose ends are sort of tied up as far as possible. And I think I can say this for most of us in the industry, that would be the general approach. That would tend to be the approach. Um, Pooling demand definitely is high value for hotels because we sell a perishable product. If I don't sell that room night to night, that revenue is gone forever, or that opportunity is gone forever. So if we have a chance to sit down at the beginning of a particular fiscal cycle and plan and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at a high value for these set of events, and these are the objectives and these are the stakeholders, it allows me to add value to the conversation, not just in cost. Cost is very important. It brings us to the table, but perhaps there are ideations at the hotel end that can be activated. Maybe there are things that can add value that the hotel would otherwise just never think about. So, for example, if it's something that's customer related, and your customers are in a certain space in time today, maybe the hotel has something that's uniquely tuned to that particular audience. So these are some of the things that the conversation helps to bring about, in my opinion. In terms of tools and techniques, because you asked technology as well, so hotels are now fairly advanced in revenue management. So we do have a lot of data that we can start to look at to say, what is the demand pattern like? Sometimes that process can also help in procurement to keep an eye on, okay, what does the hotel occupancy level look like for a certain period? How validated is that data? Very often you have your own data as well, but this helps to just kind of look at it from a different set of eyes as well. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. That really helps. At least we get to know what's bothering you when we are doing it, at least, so we can streamline ourselves. That's where I'm coming from. Thank you for that piece. Manish, over to you when we are managing the events. Surely, I just want to understand from you how much of the corporates you see in these areas, kind of they are really coming centralized, and is it, organizations in the industry they have matured enough to do that, or do you see there are still the loopholes and it is draining the industry badly? So I just want to hear from the expert like JTB, which I always consider. What is that technology? How essential is it? And what is that you guys are, thinking about when you're talking about, decentralized or the pool demand? I would
Sure,
like to hear from JTB version, please.
sure, Geeta. And you use the word expert. No, sorry. I think we're all learning in SMM program, and honestly telling you, every now and then we are taken by surprise that this is something which never caught our attention, right? So it is a new program for all of us comparatively. Having said that, coming to the point, I think one point Jesse was mentioning, and I think it is something that stares at all procurement. I've never been a procurement lead, but I guess this challenge of centralization and debate, centralization versus decentralization, right? I think it goes on in all businesses. And most of the business leaders, I guess, whatever I've read and spoken to senior folks, felt that centralization was panacea for all, problems. You centralize it, then you have a uniform process, SOPs, you drive compliance, etc., etc. However, there is a downside to centralization. You are actually looking the other way when there are specific requirements from specific geographies, specific requirements of a business, of a certain event, etc., etc. So, in my view, having seen this business for a little over 2 years, decentralization for meetings and events is something that makes all stakeholders, I would not use the word happy, but they have this ownership sense, huge sense of ownership, and they know that how they want to use their budgets and what is it they want to achieve from these meetings, instead of somebody else deciding that this is going to the venue just because we achieve a cost optimization or we want to consolidate, etc., etc. So that is one. So ideally, I would think, while all of us are grappling what is the right way forward, decentralization is the right way forward to me. I know it will be a surprise to most of you. Uh, However, in today's times, you can reap benefits of centralization with a decentralized operations. What I mean to say is that you go ahead and empower your meeting organizers to go ahead and organize meetings and events within the framework of a standard guideline, budget, SOP, safety guidelines, compliance, etc., etc., and drive it with a technology and a platform. So you are able to reap benefits of centralization in terms of data centralization, analytics, adherence to guidelines, compliance, etc., etc. At the same time, the meeting organizer is empowered to go ahead and run the meeting and program the way they think is best for their business. I would guess that's something that is has been my learning, our learning in the business, that let it be decentralized and let technology tie it up and make sure that you reap benefits of centralization on the data points and compliance.
Geeta, I want to add one point if you don't mind. When he said about decentralized, I also would say let the business units do their, how they want to conduct the meeting. As long as a procurement lead, I should be informed that you're, having an event. That's more important for me.
You
Okay.
rightly touched the point, Jesse. I think
Yes.
centralized is nothing but going through the same. Like, say for example, I have hired an agency XYZ, and they
Yeah.
should go through the agency because I've negotiated the best and I know what I want and everything is organized. They have a technology to run it and the process is set, and then
True.
everybody going through that is centralized for me. Okay.
Yes.
And I wouldn't get involved in every negotiation, and I would
True.
only source that I have already negotiated and left to this thing, and people should only use the resource. That's called
True.
centralized. If it was not that, they don't want to use the agency, but they would do it on their own. They would search for a hotel on their own, and they would search for a technology on their own. That becomes
True.
decentralized. So that's where we
Correct.
are, and I completely agree with what Manish also said, and you're rightly said. And technology is there, then you have visibility, and you can manage. It is a hybrid when we say centralized and decentralized. It is process and everything is run, and procurement has the system there and people using it. That is the way you're looking at, and I completely agree with that, Manish. Only then we can achieve the success. Otherwise, having 2,000 to 5,000 events in a year, they'll not be
You
able to
can't
run.
handle it. Correct. You need
True,
to decentralize it somewhere. I totally agree.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Centralized, I would say.
You went on mute, Geeta.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Decentralized is the way. What I'm saying is only certain functions like discussing directly with the meeting organizers and things like that. That has to be decentralized because you can't be possibly attending to all 5,000 events meetings, right? In a procurement,
Correct.
there are
You
15
can't
hours,
take up ownership. True.
one or
You
two
can't.
persons you hire and you try to run the show. I don't think so. But then the right kind of a resource you should have, the suppliers. Okay,
Correct.
how much you should know their in and out, and they have the right process for you. They have a technology. That is your strategy. That's what procurement has, a strategy. Let's jump into the next question. It brings to the next question, what we were talking right now about. So all suppliers in the market. So we have lot many suppliers, and now that everybody got into this hybrid mode and virtual mode, everybody is trying their hand in it. So how do we manage, or because how much to outsourced, how much is in house? These are the kind of questions everybody has, in the event management area. It could be Jesse's thought, it could be my thought, or any corporate. When we are taking a supplier, we think about how much is the person who's having an outsource, or how much he has in house. See, more the in house, because that is going to be one area where I would concentrate and make sure this is what it is. If it is more outsourced, then I have a lot many things to bother about. So, what is your thoughts around here? Maybe I'll talk to Manish first on this, and then maybe we will hear from Jesse and then Vivek. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Manish,
Geeta,
yeah, over to
sure.
you.
So, Geeta, I agree with you. I think the ideal scenario is that you have everything in house, and so you have a handle on all functions under you, and you know that this is what you can deliver, and you have control of QC, and proactively you can manage stuff because
Right.
you control the environment, you control people around you. But having said that, the reality is that the scale at which the business operates, right?
Mhm.
You to take any business. I'm not just even talking about travel or meetings and events. Even if you look at a manufacturing or telecom or any business you name, I think scale is what everybody is looking at. So when you
Right.
start scaling it to another level, and that is where you achieve cost optimization, process adherence, right? Need for technology. So to me, as a service delivery entity, my stuff would be, my take would be that, of course, ideally it has to be in-house, but on the ground, it may not be possible that you have one vendor who has everything in-sourced and they are delivering to your specs or requirement. But I think what is required is that you need to know to what extent the vendor is able to control the delivery partners. I'll give you an example. For example, say a company like JTB, we will never be, owning hotels as meeting venue. One a large venue is a hotel, right? Most of the meeting venues are hotels. We'll never be owning a hotel. But however, when it comes to service delivery at a venue, we can go ahead and set a parameter or a metric as to what are the deliverables that I need from a meeting venue and categorize meetings into say 10 buckets. That if I have this kind of a meeting, I need this kind of a venue, etc., etc., and tier A, tier B, tier C. Cost to some extent is negotiated or pre-negotiated in terms of volumes, turnover, and then I have a real-time visibility into when a meeting is from the time meeting is planned till it is executed. Every milestone of the journey of the meeting is tracked, and there is a visibility on real-time basis to the stakeholders, including procurement folks, right? Then you know that the delivery partner is in control of the process, and nothing is breaking in the whole chain. So as long as you're able to control that and you have a visibility, I think the discussion on in-source and outsource may become insignificant.
So does this mean, Manish, even technology per se? Because today we are going virtual, right? There is a mixing happening at the back, and then somebody is there are many technology used today, correct? So all that may not be available with a one
Yeah,
supplier. So
yeah.
it cannot be in house for everybody. There is, honestly, I would see whatever I've seen till date, at least minimum 40% is always outsourced.
True.
So this is something worries many corporates saying that. So what do you think? As you rightly said, okay, you can manage and you can, give it as you are the Spock. You manage everything. I don't have to deal with many, even if you outsource it. That is what you're talking about, right? If that comes in, then we shouldn't be worried about outsource or in-house. Is that right?
True, Geeta, because it is, I think, impossible to make sure that a vendor is able
Everything.
to have everything in-house, right?
You
And
rightly.
things changing every day. I think there is nothing constant in today's world.
Yeah.
So let's accept it and move on.
And also it can become dead capital, right?
Yeah,
You invest, and if it
true.
is of no use, then
Right.
what are you going to have that in your place? And every day the technology is changing. Like you're
Absolutely.
spending on your iPhone every year, and
Yeah,
you're paying lakhs together, and next year it is already, no
true.
use. So I mean, I completely agree with you.
True, Gita.
So now let's go to Vivek, and I'm sure Vivek, you outsource a lot many activities, though you have a venue, but then still, how do you see it in the suppliers in the India market? So, what is the percentage of outsource and in import, and what do you think we should be as a corporate we should be looking at? Something to worry or not to worry?
It's a really powerful question, actually, Geeta. And I think I don't know if I have an answer really here, but I think it's kind of it depends on what the scenario is. So in most hotels, and now I'll speak from a hotel as a corporate entity ourselves, because we've had to relook at everything we do over last year, right? Just like any other organization, we've had to look very carefully at costs, also looking at risks and saying how much of business as usual can we actually move forward with, and how much do we need to adjust. In that environment, I would say having the right outsourced partners makes all the difference in the world. I will give you an example of a program that we launched last year called Shangri-La Cares. Okay, now this is predominantly about addressing the hygiene and safety concern of any customer of ours, of any guest of ours in a hotel. That
Mm-hmm.
program would not be possible without our partnership with Diversity at the global level. So as an organization, it's to be able to say, hey, you know what? Or let me try and address this a different way. It's like saying the difference between having a first aid kit and having a doctor on call. So we can manage with the first aid kit. We will address issues when they happen, but the doctor on call is a completely different level of risk mitigation. So having the right partner, and Manish, I'm not just saying this because I'm on a JTB panel, but I really believe that having the right professional with that acumen avoids the need for us having to learn and go through that whole cycle at each phase, because
True.
otherwise it tends to become very person dependent. It's
Yeah.
dependent on, does Geeta know SMMP? As long as Geeta's here, we will manage,
Yeah,
as an example. Uh,
Right.
or is the organization kind of tuned around having the right partners and the right professionals managing that piece? When I say the right professionals, I mean specialists in that particular area,
yeah.
who you can depend on, just like a doctor can in those difficult times.
You
True.
touched very valid point, Vivek. It's like SMEs for every business, and everybody cannot do everything, right? There are SMEs, and we need to essentially utilize them rightfully and at the right time so that we can get the best benefit. I think that's a very, very valid point. So, our corporate, let's go to Jessie to hear her opinion, what exactly she thinks about in-house and the outsourced, and do you see any challenge, and what is your worry or a concern?
Okay, I think if I have to sum it up in the virtual world, I want to go with an outsourced 100% because it's going to be very challenging to handle it, right? But if you actually, when we had physical events, definitely there is that scope of 60/40 that we can look at, that I want some of my people, my suppliers to be involved in terms of handling, right? So I would go by saying on a virtual platform, I definitely look at it that I would prefer it being an outsourced and everything handled by that one person who knows who are the people whom he needs to reach out to be able to tie everything up together and give me a wonderful event. But when it comes to a physical thing, then I would put in my pitches to say, I want this, I want that. Like when,
Okay,
like Vivek said, okay, he has an event, I mean, he has a venue, right? But he will say, I will get you an event manager from outside to conduct your event in my hotel. He could say that as well, right? I'm
always
just
say that.
taking a simple example. Yeah, I mean, you can get the decoration guy from somewhere. You can get, I mean, there are a lot of things that, he will say, I can offer you only the venue, but, I will connect you to somebody
That's a
who will
great
help
point,
you,
Jesse. That's really a
right?
great point. So you're looking at one agency giving you all in-house and even including the outsource, but you do not want to deal with multiple vendors. That's what you're also
Correct.
trying to say, correct? Whether it is a
Correct.
hybrid or a virtual, we do not want to deal with many vendors, but then if I say, for example, XYZ I've hired for managing my event, maybe
Yeah.
60% they have in-house, as Manish was already mentioning. 40%
True.
what he has, he should manage it. I am not
He
going to
should
deal with
manage,
them.
not me.
He explains
Correct.
it. He gets the quality work. I mean, all of us are on that this thing, and I think that if that happens, there is no worries. Is that right to read it, Jesse?
Yes.
If somebody is
Yes,
managing and he
absolutely.
can promise, and I'll put all the blames on you if at all you are messing up with me, but
True.
100% quality is what I need. That
Correct.
I feel it is a little scary for the supplier. If I were in a supplier shoe, I would have really worried, saying that can I promise on someone else? Really, I do not know, Manish. Can I promise someone someone's ability, saying
Correct.
that I'll drive them? How much ever I drive them, will they be 100%? Because you may be knowing like Aquin financials are very strong and they want this, may not be your
Correct.
supplier, outsource supplier may not be able to understand. So that could
Correct.
be a concern. I would say, as a corporate, I would have it. I would surely think I would like to have one more meeting to make sure, hey, you know what, this is what
Yes.
we want. Maybe that's
I
something.
would like to know that who are the vendors that they are going to get. So that
Correct.
if I'm aware of certain things, I should be able to comment on it. Yes,
Yes.
this is good. I've worked with them in the past. You can consider. I'm fine. But handling many suppliers on the ground is very difficult.
So
That is for sure.
Yeah.
aggregator mode is a good strategy, but you
Yeah.
need to be balanced. Knowing the information is available to you, that should kill the
True.
concern what we have as an corporate.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very valid point. I think that was a great discussion. Honestly, these are all worries. Even I have it.
Yeah.
To discuss openly and get some bounce back kind of a thing. It was really nice. Let's look
Yeah.
at the closing questions. No, not the closing question. I have one more question before that. Health and safety measures. I know that Manish mentioned in the initial stage, and also Vivek, a lot of hygiene measures what they take. It's different levels, right? As a corporate, we expect something, and from the suppliers, there is a different level of looking at it. What exactly means health and safety? Maybe JTB, it could be different, and could be for Vivek, it is different. But in this pandemic scenario, what is that you really pay much attention to? What is that first couple of things you say, okay, this is my health and safety measures when we do it? I would take these questions to Vivek first, and then I'll go to Manish. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Geeta. I knew this was coming my way. And I would say it's hygiene is the new basic, right? It's something that every event organizer is looking at, but equally every attendee to an event is looking at. Before they step out of their home, they want to be sure where they're going. They want to kind of have that comfort and that assurance. So hotels have done a lot, and this is not just the Shangri-La, but being from the company, I can speak of our example. I alluded to the partnership with Diversity globally, where being able to give a certain commitment is not just about stating it. It's not just about documentation and putting out a marketing message. It's about making sure you have enough supplies. You have the back end, right? You need to be able to have production mapping to the demand that you have in your hotels. So there's a lot of detail that goes in. And I know I'm preaching to the converted here. This is what you do day in and day out. But there needs to be a supply chain that matches. So that's one part of it. So making sure that all the pieces align. The second thing I would also estimate above this. So let's say we've taken care of a basic level of hygiene. The next stage beyond this is perception, because you may have the safest environment, but if the end attendee doesn't feel safe, then we've kind of lost. All of us have lost the plot. So I can give you an example of a big focus that's come up in the recent past. Now things are changing with lockdowns and so on. But when we could have events, there was suddenly a renewed focus on outdoor spaces. So rather than having a meal in a restaurant, people would want to have it in an outdoor space in a restaurant where they are socially distant and so on. So I saw this in Shangri-La, Bangalore, where you have Saffron, which is a terrace restaurant. It's a rooftop level restaurant, but it also has an outdoor space. And that allows you to then look at smaller meetings a little bit differently, for example. So hygiene became definitely one of the more important safety aspects, but the perception of hygiene is also important to the end user, in my humble opinion as well.
Thank you, Vivek. You really added that, because I'm such a finicky when I'm considered to the hygiene and how I look at things is totally different. When I sit with even the suppliers, I talk about the hygiene in a much different way. We deal with so many suppliers, and we touch everybody's lives and personal lives. And during this pandemic, more than business and money, its life is very important. So if you survive, you can do lot many things. And from that point, it
Absolutely.
really matters how much we take it into consideration. It is our life is what we think when we consider hygiene and safety. And when suppliers start thinking like that, I think people like us, the corporates, we start having more confidence in dealing. And I think the normalcy will be very fast, the most we can give that kind of a trust to the people. Thank you very much, Vivek. I really appreciate that. And that gives me more confidence now. I should look at Shangri-La right now. On a lighter note. Manish,
I
over
had
to
been there
you.
just 2 weeks ago.
Thank
And
you,
see
Jesse.
that I'm talking from a serious business perspective, Jesse. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Even I am talking.
Perfectly fine. And let's go to Manish. Manish, let's hear from you. What does hygiene and health and safety measures means to you, and how do you make a corporate feel comfortable or trusting by your action? Maybe you can sum it up shortly. Then I'll move to Jesse. Thank you.
Yeah, Geeta. Geeta, to be very honest, pre-COVID, I think none of us were too much worried about this aspect, right? But I do remember March 2019 when 20, sorry, when COVID hit us and it was hard, and some of us folks
Pretty
in
late then because it was already hit, but then we were
yeah.
aware only in the month of.
Right, right. In India, when we started lockdown, etc., etc. I think first few steps that we took at that point in time, and honestly, we didn't anticipate the COVID would be this bad as it is now, right? We all thought 3 months, 4 months, we should be back to our old ways. What we did was we went ahead and ensured contractually with our vendors, especially venues, and signed not just an a standalone agreement on hygiene. It was just a two-pager document where we said that the venue has to give an undertaking to the service delivery entity, which is JTB in this case, saying that yes, they are taking all possible. It was well drafted by a legal team, and we went ahead and spoke to them over a phone and made them understand how sensitive this is going to be going forward. And I'm telling you, very happy to share with you that the entire vendor partner, all partners, vendor partners of JTB, they went ahead and without any hesitation, they went ahead and signed this undertaking, saying, yes, we are a part of it. We will work with JTB, with the customer, and make sure that confidence is high when it comes to hygiene, right? That is first step we took. Second thing we did was now when, as Vivek was saying, that how do you instill confidence in a user or a participant that the venue that I'm visiting is safe. So what we did was one day before check-in. Unfortunately, we haven't handled too many events post April 2020, but yes, we said one night before check-in, we will go ahead and share this hygiene update with the attendee, that when was your room last sanitized, what is the check-in formality at lobby, how is it different from pre-COVID, right? How trained are the staff at the lobby to handle a hygiene kind of a process, when was the lift sanitized the last time, is and restaurants sanitized the last time, etc., etc., right? Is now that time there was this buffet is supposedly not going to be a part of the SOP, so we
Mm,
insisted it has to be a la carte meal. uh,
correct.
so we took these proactive steps to make sure that both to instill confidence in the attendee, at the same time to work in a very collaborative nature with the vendor partners to make sure that we got it right, at least from a contractually, of course, one aspect of it on paper, and then on the ground as well.
Thank you, Manish. That gives me more confidence. Why I tell you? Because signing an agreement or signing some paper, no supplier reads it, which I
Right.
am aware of it because we explain sometimes saying that this is what you have signed. Do you know it? They
Yeah.
wouldn't know it. In
Yeah.
such a condition, you're making sure on the ground you're ensuring that is done and making sure even the attendee is aware of these are the points which is tested and they should also check and give a feedback. I think that makes it a 360-degree loophole clipping, and I think that helps anyone to say, hey, you know what, it's not only signing the agreement, that generally everybody does it, but
Yeah.
making sure it is delivered to the
True.
supremacy. I think that's a very good point. I think you've touched the right point there. Thank you, Manish. So, Jesse,
Jesse.
so what
I'll only, yeah, I want to just, I'll not take too much time on this, but I will share my personal experience, right?
uh-huh,
Uh,
uh,
in regards to your safety and thing what we are talking. In the last 1 month, I have visited a lot of properties, the hotels. It's basically for my personal need because I have to get my son married, so I visited. Now, one thing what I actually noticed in most of the hotels, right, and especially the
we are
Marriotts,
safe
which
then.
I
If we
would,
attend your
yeah,
wedding, son's wedding, we are safe then. Good job.
yes, you will be. You will be. So when I went and met in the Marriotts, I mean, I would have the account person over there come and tell me that I am tested negative. I said, "Did you get it done now?" They said, "We have a, in our office, in our organization, everyone have to be tested every 15 days. The staff have to be tested." I mean, that's a lot. That very clearly shows how important for them is safety and security of the people who are coming in their premises, right? And they want everyone in their organization to be tested every 15 days. For them, it's really difficult. For me to go for a test today, I feel scared. But imagine those people who are on every 15 days. That itself is enough, which says that yes, there are a lot of suppliers out there who are just looking forward to seeing that how they can convince their corporates that we are safe and you can come anytime, right? And I feel that itself is important. Second is, I think there's a lot of certification and stuff which has come. How do you keep your areas clean? How many times in a day are you sanitizing your rooms or your lobby area or everything? So I think there's a lot that corporates should feel comfortable that there are suppliers who are doing it genuinely. So
Okay.
that's what I would talk. That was safety and security for me when I went, and I was really wow that yes,
Okay.
people are doing
That,
it.
that's very good to hear. And we do hear this. Many hotels, they reach out to us saying, this is what we are doing. Every time they update us, they connect with us to ensure that this is there. Having said that, this is certification also helps. Even there are still loopholes. And in a country like India, with such a population,
True.
any pandemic to spread is doesn't take time. It just goes that way. Whatever we do, we can still fall short. But
Right.
every effort is made. That is what is the, I think, kind of a confidence which makes the business to come back. And I'm happy to hear that the hotel industry or whomever we are connecting are in thinking about it, and there is no other option. If you're not thinking, you're out of the business. So
True.
I think
Very
that is a
true.
major crack, and India waking up to this is very, very important. And I'm really, really looking at it and saying, okay, that's how business should go. Right, perfect. So I've taken pretty long time. Let us close this with a closing remark. Okay, I just want you guys to let me know, because today we are saying Europe, Americas, and even some Asian countries like Singapore and all that. They are like, they have strategy in their mind. They in make sure there is a strategy in everything what they do. Right, India is still lagging behind. I feel it, but if at all we get in there, when do you guys think maybe India will be there? And right now we are at, maybe I say it, at 40%. We are strategic. We are more operational. We love doing everything on our own. That's how we are. But I that's where I say India is still at 40%. And if at all, if you look at Europe and Americas, they are almost around 70 to 80%. In Singapore is almost like 85%, I hear. So when do you think India would be somewhere closer, at least 75% to 80% of strategic in doing everything what they are doing? Any some last parting shots you have, each one of you, if you can give it to me, please. Over to you, Jesse first. Ladies first.
Okay, I am not, yeah, I don't think I am the person who should actually be, commenting on this. I think we have JTB and we have the hotel with Vivek. I think they are the people who should tell us because we are end users, right?
Mhm.
So we want to hear from them. When are we going to see that 70%?
I
So I
would
would
say
give it to
from
them.
the corporate also it matters, because if you ask me, I get into more of a strategy. Like, anything I do, it has to be digitalized. I drive the suppliers to make sure they are coming up with a digitalized solution. And for me, at the end of the day, my customers matters. Okay, how
Yeah.
comfortable they are, how safe they are. So how do I drive it? So that's the strategy I drive it. So for me, I would say if you ask me how I work, maybe 90% strategy I adopt and 10% I hate sitting and working. So 10% operational is what I'll count myself as. But then we are
Right.
less in numbers that way. I would ask Manish for sure. How much is the percentage India is right now, and when do you think we would reach in the way we all will be
90.
comfortable and happy? I think at the end of the day, suppliers and business grow when we get more strategic than operational. Manish, your
Yeah,
view, please.
yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think only when we get strategic in our thinking and the way we operate, it adds value to the process or to the business. Uh, Geeta, when it comes to overall travel, right? I guess the first automation in travel happened when Abacus came and sorry, Sabre came in late 60s, right? And they made sure that all airline inventory was there on the system for the world to go ahead and book it from a centralized repository of inventory. So when it comes to flights, when it comes to real-time hotel bookings for travelers or even corporate travel, more or less, I think even in India, we have adopted technology. We've become strategic. It is very analytical, driven by data, right? And we've got it right. I think it started early 2000, and today, if you talk to a large corporate entity, I think most of them have adopted technology when it comes to corporate travel or airline and stuff like that. But when it comes to meeting management, the adoption has been pretty low, unfortunately, in India and in the APAC as well. I would say Europe and America adopted it pretty fast. I guess it is also because their need was higher, because most of the MNCs operated from there and they had footprints globally. So for them, their need was higher. But I think today's times, India as well is looking at adoption very, very seriously. Most of the stakeholders I talk to, be it corporates, even the vendors, when you start talking about strategy, technology, platform, they are intently listening, which was not the case, say, 10, 15 years ago. They all want to do it, right? The what actually is hesitancy is due to possibly commercial reasons or training needs, etc., right? Which all of them are trying to overcome. Because over a period of time, technology also has become very affordable. It's no longer as expensive as it used to be in 90s or early 2000. So it has become easier to adopt, and it fits into the budget of the users. So I would say we are standing at the cusp of adoption in terms of adoption of being strategic when we look at meeting management, and technology adoption is going to be coming in very fast. And if we again interact in next couple of years, I think I will stand validated. Geeta, you're on mute again.
I'm sorry. Okay, it's good to hear that we are already on the way to adopt technology, and I see it. Of course, there is no other way, right? If you see it, there is no other way. If you have to survive, you have to adopt technology, and technology makes your life simpler. Today, we are working from home. Technology is helping us from there, right? And we are
Very
connecting
true.
like this. It is a technology. So technology
Right.
is a way of a best strategy. I completely agree. And also knowing what supplier has and driving the supplier is also a strategy for me as a corporate per se. I wouldn't expect myself to be doing everything, but I will make sure I'll align with a supplier who can really support me and stand by me when I need to be strategic and helps me to be strategic, maybe throwing the data, whatever. I don't have to get
Yes.
operational. And I think that's kind of suppliers are what is the need. And from that point, I said 40%, but then, yeah, you could be right. You said they are already cusp. I would take that as a little more than my number. And maybe in a couple of years, that's what you said, we should be there soon. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Yes, that's what is essential. Let's hope that's where we are going to be. Vivek, over to you as for the last parting shot.
Yes.
Thank you, Geeta. And I think, as promised, this panel has brought in a lot of food for thought for all of us. I think my one angle I would look at that's changed the game for all of us is the elephant in the room, and that is COVID-19. It's changed the way we look at everything, not just business, but even our regular day-to-day lives.
Right.
So the reality is that SMMP has, I think from the early 2000s, if I go back into my memory, it's early 2000s is when it started to become big around the world. It caught hold in the US and Europe, I would say North America, Europe, and it's pretty active in their day-to-day lives now. In India, for various reasons, we tended to be a little more ad hoc. Perhaps it was the nature of the market as it was emerging, because we were all growing through our careers in the same time. Many of the roles that we now have did not exist in India 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from that perspective, that even our own reality has changed. But coming back to COVID, I think the reality is that we live in an economy that is based on data. We all do around the world. Whether you're living in a communist country or living in a capitalist country, it's all based on data. And
Right.
the reality is now that we can expect the demand patterns to change as vaccinations roll out around the world. That's the one data point everyone's looking at, right? We all know by heart how much vaccination is in each country and how many doses and etc. But there's a reason for that, is because there will be pent up demand that will come up for all of us, for all of our businesses. And I agree with Manish. I think we're at the cusp, and the cusp is a tipping point. It could tip either way, but we're really at that tipping point. And I believe that there is that opportunity, because sourcing at the end of the day has to have a structure. If we don't have a structure, then it's a free for all, and that kind of dissipates everybody's objectives. We also dealing with new technology of virtual meetings, hybrid meetings, different versions of them. There's new factors like sustainability that are now taking more and more precedence in the way we do business. So I think there's a lot of things coming together. And for me, data is that big opportunity to use it. And technology, only for its sake, I mean, has its own devils to deal with. But definitely the data is the reality that we need to look at as we move forward. Thank
Completely
you.
agree with you, Vivek. Honestly, data tells you what you are doing, how you are doing, and how you should be doing. I think that's a
Right.
very, very important point. I completely agree with you. Technology drives the data. That also it is interconnected, I would say. So at the end of the day, SMMP strategy, even in this meeting, panel discussion, whatever we had a strategy. We need to learn whatever we are doing, how we can help each other,
Yes.
and what's available in the market so that we can do more strategically further. I think that's where we have reached, and I think this discussion was very, very eye-opening for me, and it really helped me to see. I was thinking, okay, I
Yes,
know
me too.
so much, but I realized, yeah, I had to know so many things. That's so nice to know, and this is a great opportunity we could connect and speak. Thank you very much, each one of you, and stay
Thank
safe
you.
and take care.